Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Stencil Saturday video. This week we are working with the big square on my dot and dash blocks stencil, and I'm going to use one of my new rulers. So it's this one. It's part of a set of 4 rulers called Line Illusions, and this time I'm going to use the Line Illusions 2 ruler, which has kind of a like really super shallow OG kind of curve, and then this side has a really nice tight little one, and this is the one I'm going to use. This was one of the main reasons that I wanted these rulers, was to do some radiating lines. And so, you know, you can choose. Looking at this, you could just do the main ones, so you'd have you know, the main stencil lines, but I'm actually gonna do every one. I think I will, because I'm thinking that if I was gonna do just the radiating lines, nothing more in this block, whether, you know, I mean, you could put this down over top of an applique block and mark it so that you could do the radiating lines like behind applique or something. But if I'm doing this just as a block, then I want to do every line probably, because then there's plenty of quilting in there. And one thing I am going to do is stitch this center square first, because I'm not a huge fan of when you have all these lines coming into the middle and you end up like with just you know, a lot of thread right there in the center. I don't like the look of that. If I were using matching thread, it would probably be okay. But I'm not. It's gray, and I know that we'll see it. So I'm just going to go ahead and I should probably start here so I can start with the first line going out there. Oh, and I probably, well, let me go ahead and stitch this square real quick, and then we'll And the nice thing with the square, then you have something to travel along to do these. Okay, so one thing that I didn't mention was, looking at the ruler here, we have these lines, these vertical lines are 1/2 inch spacing, one in the middle, of course. So the thing for me with the radiating lines here is that what's going to happen is, because this is in each of the lines, it creates this cool, like, well, you'll see when we stitch it, design. But what I want to do is figure out where do I want this to be. You know, I don't want to put it too far out. I don't really want to center it. Maybe I kind of do. I usually just by eye, and I want to make sure that, you know, the sides are going to be shorter than these ones going out here. So I want to make sure that wherever I figure that I'm going to line it up, that this is going to be in here. So looking at this, I'm feeling like I'm going to line it up with this one, which is 2 down from where the curve starts. So my needle would be there. Yeah, that puts that almost in the middle, and I'm okay. This is good. That's where I'm going to do it. So what I've been doing is I'm going to turn my ruler over to the back, and I'm going to use this little tape. I'm just going to cut off a little piece. I'm going to stick it on the back, and that was the second line. I'm going to put it right here, and I like to just put it right over the line. You could put it right at it, or however you want to do it. Trim this little bit extra off, though. I don't like when it's hanging over. And what happens then is when I turn it back over, it just essentially highlights that line for me so I can see it without, you know, having to count lines and remember where it is I'm going. So once I have my needle down right there, so I'm going to go ahead and just line this up. Obviously I want to stitch, you know, it's going to stitch 1/4 of an inch away. I want to have this line where my needle is. And then I'm going to stitch right here, and I can line it up and see that up here I'll stitch up there. And I'm going to go ahead and stitch the first one. I'm going to go nice and slow around the curve. I'm going to go out to the corner. And then I'm just going to travel along here until I come to the next line. And I'm going to do the same thing, but going back in. Oh, I needed to put my tape on. Oh, no, I don't. I can just line my tape up down here. So I'm going to line this line up. I want to land. This line is coming to right here. I know it's hard to see. I kind of rubbed that one off a little bit. Let me mark it so you can see it. It's kind of right at the point of that curve. So I want to line this line up right here so that it's going to land a 1/4 of an inch away. I hope that makes sense. And then you can see I'm good here. I'm just going to stitch this. And the thing is, if it shifts the tiniest little bit, it really isn't going to matter. It's not going to be noticeable. So now I'm going to travel up until I'm to this next line. I'm going to do the same thing. This one's a little bit easier because it's straight. So I can see this line is even with my needle. I'm a 1/4 of an inch away, and I'm ready to stitch. I think this is just the coolest look. Now, even as we stitch this, I'm sure you could see some pretty cool stuff. So you could actually just echo back. You could slide the ruler up and echo back in and make these double lines if you wanted, but I just want to keep it simple. Again, I'm going to get right where I need to be. I'm going to line this line up even with here where I want to land, and then we're going to go down. Land right there. Travel over just a tiny little bit for this next line. Line that one up. This one's easy because I can line it up with the line that we're on. Just make sure that I'm lined up good up here. Out to the corner, and I'm going to travel down to the next line, which is right there. And I'm going to line up. I hope can you even see it? It's hard to, oh, the camera's not. I'm lining up down there so that I'm a 1/4 of an inch away, again, like we did with all the other ones. Stitch in. Travel to this point. Again, I am lining up my little pink line there. I have my spacing, so I'm going to land here and here, and I'm good to stitch that one. I'm just going to repeat that the whole way around here. I'm going to go down to this next line there. This one's going to get a little tricky just because so I'm lining it up in the center. My spacing is good here and here. Right on my mark. Scoot over. And I'm going to do this one. I'm going to line it up right on that line. It's the easy one. And hopefully I don't slip because I'm holding it some kind of weird way. Nope. We're good. All the way out. Travel over. And then I'm just going to stitch the rest. All right, so we are doing this last line And that ends it. Now, looking at this, let me see if we can see it better if I turn the light off. Yeah, a little bit. Actually, I should probably get rid of the lines first. Okay, so that's a little bit better without the lines there. It's a lot to look at, I know, when the lines are there. This is just, I absolutely love this. I mean, it's just the coolest thing. So I think what's really cool is that, you know, I like radiating lines just straight. I think it's a really clean design, and I think it's very good, especially in, you know, as a background design, because, you know, because these lines radiate out from the center, it really draws your eye right into the center as well. So so the rulers, was kind of one of the things I wanted, because I love straight lines. But I also love the idea that by adding just the slightest curve or a bump or whatever to the line, just can change it so much. And I think this is a really good example of that. It's really fun, I think, and I know it's hard to see. I probably picked a bad color of of fabric. That helps a little bit, so you can kind of see it better. You know, and with these little bumps going the whole way around, it is very cool. Now you have a lot of options with this too. You know, like I said, as you stitched it, you could have stitched this out here, line the ruler up again, like that. You have to keep in mind that that curve probably isn't going to be exactly the same. And then you could have stitched back in and just doubled all of your lines, or maybe you double only some. The other option would be that you could come into this design now and kind of work your way through, and maybe you add a fill. Maybe you fill this, travel over, skip one even, or maybe you want to do double line on a couple. You could also do that. You could come in and do an echo and then fill. I mean, there are just so many options. So I hope you guys like that design, and I will see you next time. Bye.